water, electricity, rent. These are just some of the few recurring monthly bills that we all have to pay for when we decide to become adults. Something I'm pretty sure high school didn't warn us about. But I'm sure you imagine every now and then waking up in the morning to notifications from Robinhood about all the money you just made in dividends that you could put towards those monthly bills. That's definitely the dream, but having a portfolio that pays you $100 a month in dividends not only takes tens of thousands of dollars in overall investment, but it also takes the right type of stocks that make up that portfolio to make that consistent. But here's the question. Is it possible to do all that with only $25 a week? And how would you even start? When it comes to investing for those consistent dividend checks, it's important to invest in the stocks that are valuable to that specific goal. That obviously sounds super simple, but when you're investing such a small amount, like $25 a week, then that idea exemplifies to an exponential power, because you want to make sure that every dollar of that small amount you put into the stock market is bringing back as much returns and dividends as possible. And because you may not feel like you're not investing a lot of money at a time, then you're probably going to be really tempted to look for those specific companies with a really high dividend yield. And that leads me to rule number one. Do not simply focus on the dividend yield. It's definitely not all about the percentage that they give to shareholders per share over a given period of time, whether it's monthly or quarterly or every single year. Plus, if you're new to investing and you want to get into dividend stocks, it can be really misleading. I have a pretty decent sized portfolio, and two of the companies I invest into are AT&T and Microsoft. Now, if you look solely at their dividend yields, AT&T looks like more of the favorable option than Microsoft because its yield is really high. I think it's almost twice as high. But that's really misleading because you also have to consider something like the share price. The share price of Microsoft is exponentially higher than AT&T, which means that it would pay off a higher dividend yield periodically. And there's other things you have to keep in mind, like its overall profit history and other stuff like that, but we'll get into that shortly. On top of all that, just because a stock has a really high dividend yield doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna last forever. And that leads me to my rule number two. Make sure you look at the dividend payout history. The one thing that's just as important as getting paid dividends from a stock is getting paid those dividends very consistently. And honestly, at the beginning of my investing journey, that was something I definitely didn't think about, and I paid the consequences for that along the way. Now, recently on this investing journey, I learned something that you guys are either going to think is really cool or pretty stupid and obvious, and that's that every stock has a role. In your investing journey, you're gonna find stocks that are known more for their capital gains, meaning you put an amount of money into that stock, 5 or 10 years later, you're gonna pull back out more. Always great. You're also gonna find companies that are more known for their dividend yield and payout. You put money in, you're gonna make some money over time in passive income, money while you sleep. Now, once you understand the difference between those two companies when you're looking for stocks to invest into every single week, then you are able to put those companies together into a portfolio that will pay you passive income every single month and provide you with those capital gains at the same time. So with that being said, here are examples of companies that I personally invest into that you could build a portfolio around right now that will pay you passive income with only $25 a week. So you have the long-term stocks. These are the companies that are really valuable to society in their own special way. Some of the companies that I invest into at one point were considered essential companies, especially during the pandemic, considering these companies stayed open and operable to the public to help people like you and myself maintain some type of normalcy during that time. Companies like Apple, Home Depot, and Costco are known for more so their overall capital gains, but they also happen to pay a dividend on the side. I would say the dividend is more so the icing on the cake, and the capital gains is the entire cake itself. And that's one thing you want to keep in mind when investing into a company whose profits consistently increase over a period of time. That's an opportunity for them to contribute more and more in dividend payouts each year, which means every year your passive income increases just by holding on to that company. Apple, for example, is probably one of my favorite investments, even though I own no Apple products, so my bad. It pays a 96-cent dividend yield per year per share, which doesn't seem like a lot, but that has been steadily increasing, slowly but steadily, over the past 5 to 10 years and then some. But speaking of which, over the past 5 years, its actual share price has increased by over 200%. So that's really important, knowing that when you put some money in, you're gonna get a lot more out over a long period of time. But I'm not gonna act like we don't wanna invest in those dividend stocks with a super high dividend yield, even though they can be a little bit risky, I guess. It can still be really cool to get some of that profit. Some positions I hold just because of their dividend yield are Verizon Wireless, AT&T, which I mentioned earlier, and this ETF called QYLD. Now, I won't break down what QYLD is, but one big benefit about ETFs is that it's automatic diversification of your portfolio because ETFs are essentially a basket of stocks. But speaking of this one, it actually pays every shareholder 17 cents every single month per share. And for me, it's been paying that for the past 2 to 3 years, and its share price is in the $20 per share. And you can see its overall capital gains is not doing too well. It's kind of horizontal, but its payout is very consistent. So if you can get your hands on a company like that has a high dividend yield, but it's very consistent, then definitely add that to your portfolio as well. And of course, you can also find companies that are kind of in the middle where they have a pretty nice dividend yield, but also have experience with overall capital gains, such as Target and McDonald's. McDonald's is actually a position I just added. And if you look at a company like Target, you'll see over the past year that their share price has dropped, but look at it over the past 5 years and even max. Target is a very essential company. People like shopping there, and it has a high dividend payout. I think I'm making over $4 per quarter with over 4 shares invested. So that's definitely something to consider as well. You take the combination of high dividend yielding stocks with high capital profits and even a mix of the two, and you put them together, that's definitely a formula for a very solid portfolio that will consistently pay you dividends every single month. But what does that actually look like when it comes to passive income? Like, how much can you potentially make with $25 a month? That's a really good question. Make sure you watch this video where I actually go over my portfolio that I've been investing $25 a month into for the past 4 years. And I'll actually show you guys how I've been able to pay bills, whether I'm able to pay them every single month or quarterly or biannually, just a little bit of motivation. So hopefully you guys enjoy that video, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one as well. I appreciate you guys watching as always, and until next time, take care.